What's going on? Steven here from Big Fish Audio, and this is the full walkthrough of Sequence Hip Hop Beat Creator. Now, it was some time back at Big Fish Audio, we were discussing different sequencers on the market. What are they doing well? What could be done better? So we decided to dream up different concepts and ideas of what would create the most efficient, creative, musical, and powerful sequencer that we could think of. And we came up with Sequence Hip Hop Beat Creator. Sequence is a 12-channel sequencer. You can program up to 12 different drum parts, but it's so much more than that. There are over 4,000 hand-picked drum sounds. There's an onboard multi-output mixer. There's a roll creator, so if you're creating fast-style snare parts, trap hats, those sorts of things, this is a creative musical way to implement those into your track. We have 62 different drum menus, which are organized by drum sound and style, so you can quickly browse through the entire library, apply any sample to any channel instantly. I'll show you more about that in our menus section in just a little bit. We have 32 custom created 808s. These are huge mix-ready 808s. They sound incredible. We think you're going to love them. We also have one-shots. So any sample you have loaded into the sequencer is also loaded in as a one-shot. You can apply that using a MIDI keyboard or a pad controller if that's the way you like to create your beats. So let's go ahead and look at the bottom of the keyboard here, and you can see various different colored ranges. And these represent a lot of the different things that I just mentioned. So the 808s here are in red at the bottom. The next range up is the scenes keys, and these will apply any of the 12 different drum parts that you've created using the range here starting at C2 in green. So scene 1 will be associated with C2. Scene 2 is on C sharp 2, and so forth. So that is the green scenes range. Above that is the one-shot range. And as I was saying earlier, any sample that you have loaded into the sequencer, right now I have Kick Punchy 12 loaded into channel 1 of the sequencer, and that will also apply to C3 here. And then all the other samples will fall in line in that octave as well. Above that, we have the black on-off MIDI note here. And so any scene I currently have selected, I currently have scene 3 selected, it's going to turn it on. So you can start editing your samples, editing the beat, and then turn it off again using that MIDI note. Above that is the roll creator range. So in pink at the top here, we have the actual divisions of the rolls. And then below that in the orange range is a, on the fly you can adjust the pitch. So that's the basic keyboard layout of Sequence. And now let's go ahead and look at the sequencer page itself. And you can see here we have all the different sample names loaded into each of the different channels. These channels can be deactivated by hitting the on-off button here on the left side. Right here, by clicking on the sample name itself, we'll load up a browser. And you can see I'm currently in the Kicks folder, and then I have a bunch of subfolder of the Kicks. I'm currently in Kicks Punchy 1. And here I have a whole bunch of different kicks that have a punchy style to them loaded in here, and I can select my sample using the browser here. If I close this, I can also browse through using the arrow keys, moving forward by 1 or back, or the little dice here is going to give you a random selection from that Kicks Punchy folder. So if you don't want to get stuck in a rut, if you always go Kick Punchy 1, Kick Punchy 2, you want to try to find some samples maybe you haven't heard yet, the randomize button will help you find maybe something that you haven't been listening to before. I'm going to go ahead and navigate back 12 here because I like that for this particular kit that I have going here. Beyond this, I have a mute and solo button, volume and pan, and then I have this edit window here. So each of the channels has an edit window on here where you can adjust the pitch of the sample globally. So if I want this to be a lower pitch, I can just adjust that, or a higher pitch, I can do that here. And then I have a sample length as well. So if I want this to be a little bit shorter in length, or if I want to make it have a hard decay on it, I can select hard decay on that as well, or a soft decay. So that is the edit window on here. Finally, in the channel headers here, I have a little play button for each of the channels. Just allows you to go through and preview the sample you currently have loaded in, or you can use the one-shot range. We just want to give you both options with that. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the actual sequencer itself. So I already have a beat programmed in here, and this is pretty typical for a sequencer. You have basically on and off for each step and each sound. Where we really decided to take this further on the sequencer page was these different modes. So we have beat mode that we're currently on, but for each step we can also adjust the sample length, the volume, the pan, and the pitch of each of these different modes. So you can see on here on this particular small drums sound, if I solo that, turn it on, you can hear I have the left-right panning happening on here just to give it a little bit of dimension, interest happening with the panning. I also have here at the end a little pitch automation happening on that sample as well. So you can do that with any of the different samples in here if you want to just create some more dynamic, interesting types of drum parts where it's not just simply on or off, but by volume, length, panning, tune. You really are opening up a lot of different dimensions of creating sounds in your beat, more musicality, again, as I was saying, more creativity. There's just so many options once you start getting into the different modes of the sequencer. Continuing on the right side here, giant play button here. You can just click that on and off, or again, as I mentioned before, use the black key at the bottom to turn it on and off as well. The swing knob here, if you want to add a little swing to what you're doing. Choosing the number of steps is really easy here. You can go up to 64 steps on here. Currently I'm at 16. If I wanted to do something that was beyond the 16 that I currently have, say 32, I can use my steps navigation tab here at the bottom, at the top of the page here, and start editing the second page on here. Now, you can see once it gets to 17, I have nothing going here. It goes back to the beginning. If I wanted to follow the sequence, I would hit this F button, which is follow, and now it's following my sequence as it plays. But if I just wanted to edit on this page while that page is, while it's still running, I can do it like that. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this back down to 16 for now, and go back to steps 1 through 16. We have a speed option on here, so if you want to make your sequence that you've already created half time or double time, that's really easy to do with the speed knob. And the division sets basically what each of these different steps is worth. So right now, pretty typical division that you would see on a sequencer is 16th note, but you can adjust that up or down to slower or faster divisions, depending on what you want to do. Here at the bottom, you select the scenes that you want to be editing, and then there's also an option for copy and paste on here. So if I wanted to copy scene 3, paste it to 5, which is empty right now, it's instantly copied everything I had on scene 3 to 5. So now between 3 and 5, it's the same thing now, but a lot of times you just want very subtle variations between scenes. So say maybe on scene 5 you just want this cymbal. There's scene 3. There's scene 5 with the cymbal. So it's as simple as that. A lot of times you're going to be creating, maybe scene 1 is going to be an intro, or scene 2 is your verse, scene 3 is a chorus or a pre-chorus. And then maybe you'll have some options where some of them are shorter ones and they're just fills. So you can start playing around and arranging them within the scenes tabs here. And then just, again, once you got your track going, programming them in any arrangement you like. So that is the right side here. A couple other options on the top here of the sequence page is we have some preset tabs here. So if you want to select a preset kit that's already been built for you here into each channel, we'll have some of those. And preset beats, where the beat patterns will already be set. You can kind of get started quickly with some of those. The input cue and latch mode, they kind of work together. The latch mode basically will, before, when you're recording these in with latch mode off, you have to hold down the MIDI note. You can see it's held down up here. But if latch mode is on, I simply have to trigger it once and it turns on. Now to turn it off, I would use my C4 black note, and that gives the MIDI signal to turn it off. I don't have to hold down the MIDI note using the latch mode. That can be really great for live use as well. So if you wanted to use this live, you wanted to free up your hands and be doing other things, you get the beat started, hit one of the patterns on here, and then do something else. Maybe you wanted to play the 808 at that point. or start doing some of the rolls. So that's where latch mode comes in really handy. If you wanted to make sure that you got everything right on a downbeat, so you didn't miss it or didn't hesitate or anticipate the next scene too quickly, you can use the input cue. And right now I have it set to a bar, and if I play my playhead in Logic, the input cue will wait basically until the next bar line at this point before it plays the next scene. So if you notice, I was playing all of the scenes ahead of time, and what it was doing was waiting until the next bar line in this case before it played the next scene, making sure that I just landed it right on the downbeat. Okay, the last thing on the sequence page that I want to show you is the clear and clear all. So clear basically means any page that I'm currently looking at or any mode that I'm currently looking at, it will clear that. If I had, say in scene 3, as I showed you before, I had some of the automation happening in here. If I hit clear all, it would clear every mode that I had currently on here. But say I just wanted to clear out this panning on here, I would just hit clear, and you can see all my other modes, including beat mode, is still intact on here. So let's move over to the mixer page now. And on the mixer page, we have all the different 12 channels of the sequencer, as well as a channel for the roll creator, channel for the menus, and a channel for the 808s, and a master output channel. To apply effects to any of these channels, I simply click the effects on it. So if I wanted to hit this the punchy kick here on channel 1 that I had, I'm going to go ahead and just use the one shot to trigger it. And I currently have a little bit of a high pass filter going on that. If I turn that off, you can hear that low end come back. I basically had that on because I have a full beat going already, and I'll show you that in a minute. That has both 808s happening, it has the scenes happening, it has the one-shots happening, and it has the roll creator happening. And I wanted the high-pass filter on to allow the 808 to act a little bit more as the kick and not get too much in the way, to get too muddy with two different really heavy low-end things happening. So again, to apply any effects, say I wanted to apply a to this guy right here, I wanted to put a delay on it. I click on the effects on channel 2, click delay, turn it on here, and I can select my time on here, how much pan, feedback amount, etc. So that's how to apply effects to any channel. Now, any effects that is currently highlighted, that channel will also be associated with the tune, length, and release knob here. Release options here. So this will only be applying the tune effect to that particular sample. And this relates exactly to the edit window I showed you on the sequencer as well. So any changes made in this window will be reflected in the mixer window here as well. On the right side, I have a play button. So whatever scene is currently selected, that will turn that on and off. So you don't necessarily have to always go back and forth between pages if you wanted to try changing the swing or the speed while you're doing your mix process on here. Lastly on this page, the multi-output feature, which is very important, very useful. Every single channel you can set to its own output in Kontakt, and then whatever DAW you're using, you now have access to each of the channels within a different channel in that DAW. So if you were applying maybe some plug-in effects that you want to use differently than what we've included on here, or you're sending this out to a mixer, you would want to use the multi-output so that you can make sure that every single channel is given its own audio channel, basically, when you did the bounce of your different stems and your tracks. Okay, now let's look at the roll creator page. And at the top, you can see we have the same file browser that we had in the sequence page. So if you want to go in and find the exact sound that you're looking for, you can go in here and start clicking through different sounds until you find what you want to use with the roll creator. On the left-hand side here, there's pan, tune, and volume. And again, these will mirror any changes that you've made on the mixer. And any changes you've made over here, you'll see on the mixer as well. So it's just quick and easy controls for you to get the sound that you're looking for, the mix that you're looking for while you're on the roll creator page. On the right side here, we have high pass and low pass filter on here. Just a quick little control to add more creativity to the sound that you are currently using the rolls on. In the middle here, by default, sync is on. So all these different divisions that you see at the bottom will be synced to your host tempo. With sync off, now it's adjusted by the speed knob. So I can go in and learn CC on here, and now my speed of my rolls is adjusted by this. And so that's no longer dependent on the host tempo of your DAW. So I'm going to turn sync back on. And now onto one of my favorite and one of the more powerful elements of Sequence, which is the menus page. Right now, as you can see on the bottom, I have my typical keyboard mapping, but if I click menu mode, it switched out all of that mapping into my menus. So now on here, I can go in and click percussion and say I want to find something that is a small drum on here. And now I can play through all my little small drum elements. And say I want this sample here, and I want to put it on channel 8. I can click apply on here and then re-trigger that sample, and now that sample is now loaded into channel 8. I can do that through 1 through 12 on here, and then 13, which is my roll creator. So if you want to find your roll creator sample using the menus, you can do that as well. So I can go with the back button here, find something in the beatbox snare folder here, and then I can apply that to this channel 3 here and do that. It's that easy. Okay, lastly, let's go to the 808 page. And here I have in the middle of the browser of the 808s, and I can select between page 1 and page 2, and you can see they all have very descriptive names on here. So you kind of get an idea of what they're going to sound like even before you click on them. So below that here, we have our playback modes. We have poly, mono, and glide. Currently, I've been on glide, so anytime I've hit anything kind of legato, you hear it slide into the next sound rather than playing the full attack of the 808 sample. I can adjust the glide speed here. Mono mode will only play back one sample at a time, so even if I'm holding 2, it'll only play the last note that I played. Poly mode will play more than one sample if you want to do something like that. The bend mode here, if I turn that on, will go up or down to the note you played, depending on if you have the up or down selected and depending on the speed that you have on here. This is going up and down. And the amount of that will be dependent on how much your pitch range is selected here. And this will also adjust how much your pitch wheel will adjust as well. On the upper left-hand corner is the AHDSR. Now, we have created all these samples to not have any real decay to them. They'll sustain forever if you have the sustain all the way up. So if you can adjust the amount of decay on here, really tailor this. If you don't want so much attack on this and you want maybe a kick sound to be more prominent in the attack, turn up the attack on here. So that's the AHDSR. And we've also included 4 different effects on here that are just going to be pretty ideal to use with an 808. Like the other pages, anything you change on here will be reflected in the mixer. So I just turned on that compressor here, and you can see the compressor's on here. I haven't changed any of the settings on here, but the compressor is on in the mixer now. So this is just a quick access to some of the effects that you have included with the 808s. So that's about it. I did want to show you one thing that I mentioned, which is how all these elements can be played back together. So you have your 808s, which can be played with the scenes, which can be played with the one-shots, which can be played with the roll creator, all at the same time. Using the multi-output, you can have all those elements go to different channels in your DAW. And so here's a little part that I put together. And you can see I have the rolls at the top. There's some pitch automation happening below that. One shots happening below that. Your scene playback happening here. 808s happening here. And it all comes together. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to check out some of our other videos for more information, or check out the website at bigfishaudio.com/sequence.